Hey, what's up guys, Yin Dragon here. So normally I never really talk much about it, but it's about Payday 3, and normally I rather write it out as we get more information on it, other than just, you know, the teasers and mostly the image and all that. But I do want to go over and talk about what I want to see for Payday 3. Now, there's a lot of stuff I would like to talk about, so I won't put it all in one video. Instead, I'd rather focus on one part of a category, and that is usually either for stealth, loud, or even mostly just the core mechanic and the difficulty itself that I want to see that could be much more improved, but also having fun and also very refreshing, to say the least. Because we've been playing Payday 2 for now almost close to 8 years. Once it hits one more month, it will become 8 years. So that is a really incredible milestone that Payday 2 has reached. And surprisingly, people still play this game, including myself. Why? It's one of the most fun games out there. And soon the sequel will be on its way.
Civilians can do a lot of good for you, as long as you got them under control.
So one of the few things I want to go over for stealth is, well, the two most important things is when it comes to are the core mechanics when it comes to any stealth game you play. And I forgot to take a crowbar. Ah, man. But that's fine. That's fine. As long as you get the crowbar, I got more to talk about. So the two most important things are in terms of noise and the shadow mechanics. Now, of course, there's other games that did it before. I mean, Thief was the first one that actually did this. Thief: The Dark Project. I didn't play the game, but I did seen it in the little training section where I think they done beautifully done. Just by you have to use your environment to your advantage. So the first thing I want to cover up is the noise. Now, of course, in Payday 2, when it comes to, they will hear noise from either from gunfire, glass shattered, or explosion going on, or going off, I should say. But the most important thing is, well, your footsteps. They're really deaf when it comes to hearing your movement speed or your noise you make. You can definitely hear my footstep right away, but they don't, which is a little bit, doesn't make much sense. Okay, that's like a good spot. And of course, you also step on different surfaces too. So not just like concrete floor or pavement road. You also step on carpet, and it actually makes different noise. When you're going up steel steps, you make a lot of noise as well. So I do like to see them to improve on it by, when you hear the noise, they actually will look into your direction. Look how much noise I'm making. And the guard don't even hear it. So it really clearly tells you that they really need to adjust to actually make this an actual thing. And that makes it... Oh wait, why do I do this? Okay, never mind. It kind of makes it where you can't just use your leapfrog technique or bunny hop technique, where you just usually just press your sprint, crouch jump, and repeatedly. So you can't really do that.
Oh, hi. It must be a problem at your end.
So that will be pretty nice change for the noise mechanic. Now the second, of course, the most important thing is when it comes to the shadow. Now, we all know in Payday 2, even if you hide in a shadow like this, like for this for example, they can still see me, even in broad daylight like this. So, adding a shadow mechanic would be pretty nice. And this will help you to be more concealed to your surrounding.
Thought this was my phone. Silly me.
Now, I don't know if they're gonna add like some certain HUD where you can see it like a light indicator to see how well you are in light. If your meter goes, you know, very bright, you would just light up like a Dutch brothel. But at pitch black, your ghost is shadow. So able to have different lighting would be actually pretty fun to do. I can see a lot of joints out between the two mechanics, and this, what I say, is the only way for a you know, an armor player to be very concealed when trying to do it in stealth. But I do think you should still get suspicious when you're in a shadow because of your shape of your outfit, of the shape that you have, because a human eye can recognize a human shape very quickly. So that's the two things I want to see, and I'm pretty sure that will be pretty awesome to have. And well, that's mostly about it for the two main mechanics. Now on for the other stuff.
Watch out, God.
Now the other one I want to see is when it comes to able to move corpses. Now we can always do this by using body bags. But honestly, I think it's kind of ridiculous that we can't just, you know, carry the corpse over our shoulder and just hide it somewhere else. So that's what I want to see. Now, of course, this would probably ruin one of the things that what made Payday 2 stealth a little more challenging. But at the same time, I think the other mechanics I will mention could definitely have a nice overhaul.
Look out, God.
Now, one of the things I do hate a bit most when it comes to self-pay 2 is the pagers. Now, I understand they had to do it because, well, you can't just kill everything in sight and just clear your way. But I do say there should be a different type of mechanic involved in a course. And I think this one should be very interesting. Now, you may notice I kind of say these things, and I kind of borrow a little bit these ideas from another stealth game that I love to play back on the PS2. And that is Splinter Cell, mainly the first game. And the reason I say this is because since Payday 3 is going to be on the Unreal Engine, and well, the very first Splinter Cell is on the Unreal Engine, I presume the very first Unreal Engine, and they had all those mechanics in, which fits perfectly. So I figured Payday 2 would have a follow example. Yes, it may sound like I'm trying to copy and paste everything what I said with those mechanics, but the reason I say that is, well, it will at least keep Payday 2 fresh, or not, Payday 3 fresh, and something different compared to its predecessor.
We got it!
As I do like to see from sequels to get improve and sometimes innovate, but it's hard to get innovation when it comes to the years like this. So yeah, able to pick up the bodies would be nice because in the first game, if you leave the corpses basically in a lighting, they will report the body. So you can't just leave your corpses or bodies in the light. So even if you have like ragdolled them outside, sorry about that. So if you leave the bodies right in the shadow, you're perfectly fine. However, if you like leave a civvy or somewhere else, like in the shadow, or in the lighting, I mean, they will sound the alarm, even though you may not see it. So I would say there's like neighboring around the building, like there's like neighbors, or other stuff that may see you that normally you would never see before. It just helps you to keep yourself and cover yourself with some evidence. So you want to make sure they have no evidence on you. Which to me, it will make it where I do think the difficulty should be a factor when it comes to dealing with these two. So if you play on a lower difficulty, you can just basically hide the bodies anywhere you want with no problem. But on a higher difficulty, if you do try to hide a body in a very broad daylight, even though they're very much in a good spot, they will probably still see it in the lighting. So you're going to need to actually hide the body somewhere in pitch darkness in order for them not to get discovered. So that's at another layer of why removing the body bags is now completely irrelevant. Next up I want to cover up is basically how to lure guards away from you, or at least getting close to you, or just lure them out so I can take them out. And one of the things is, well, we all know about noise, and another thing in Payday 2, if you played Framing Frame Day 1 or Art Gallery, you can actually make the air dryer make some noise, and that will lure the guard in. So I wish there's more stuff like this. They kind of did it in later maps, such as
Got it.
like the Shadow Raid and Election Day with the forklift and the cargo trucks.
Watch out, guard.
Of course, that would be pretty awesome to do. And able to lure, like, if I make a jump noise, the guard will hear me, and he will come to investigate. And as for the pager mechanic, well, I figured they need to give a little bit of a rework. Now, sometimes you may have to deal with 4 pagers, and sometimes you're strictly to deal with 4 pagers, such as the Golden Grin Casino, for example, if you're playing on Death's Ends, where you mostly had to deal with all 4 pagers at the very back. So I decided to do something a little more different this time. Now they can keep the 4 pager limit, but they can do something a little more different. If they find something what's really odd, they will come and try to investigate by sending about 2 or 3 more guards and go in for a little bit of a checkup or around the map for knows how many times. Kind of makes you have to wait, and you have to wait it out until it's to give the okay, it's clear to go, or the coast is clear, and then you don't have to worry about it. Now, as for the other higher difficulty, when it comes to Death's Ends and all that, nothing's really much changed if you play between Death Wish or Mayhem. You probably had additional more guards. And that's mainly about it. But other than that, nothing else has really completely been changed. So one of the things I like to see is having rotating cameras to either a 180 degree when stuck on the wall, or a 360 rotation in terms when flying on the ceiling. So for example, these cameras are always stuck in a stationary spot. So what I like to see them is they're able to rotate. So they'll move something in a lines like this, you know, very slowly, and then back like this. I do say this should be applied to at least a higher difficulty, so it give people who are familiar with the stealth mechanic in Payday 2, and then if they want to see the changes they did for the stealth for Payday 3, they would play on a higher difficulty. So that's one thing I do like, and funny enough, there's actually a mod for all this stuff, with the noises you make, also the rotating camera. There's actually mods for this, and of course, I do know for a fact there won't be gonna be a, you know, any quality of life improvements they're gonna do. So hopefully that overkill can actually, well, looking over these mods and make them actual game mechanics into their next game. Another big change I want to see is when it comes to using the suppressors. Now, almost every suppressor you have on any type of weapon will be the same. Such as using a suppressed SMG, pistol, even a sniper rifle, even a high caliber weapon, they will not do anything. I mean, I think for the Barrett M95, it does have a much more higher threat, and most of the weapons will have 0 threat, which to me, I think they need to change a little bit more with suppressors besides just, you know, the whole damage, accuracy, concealment, where I do think noises should be a factor in as well. So, for example, another thing when it comes to playing on a lower difficulty, the suppressor should work the same way as it did in Payday 2. Sorry, this is really annoying. But, so for example, if you try to use a suppressed shotgun on a higher difficulty, they'll actually hear the noise of the weapon being fired. Although they can't really see who does it, but they will. You do make some noise with it. After all, they can still hear the bullets, and they will go investigate. Or if they know there's a suppressor and being fired at them, they will get alerted. So just making sure that equipping a suppressed shotgun may not always be the best option. And as for the whole ride dog physics with the shotgun, how it would work, I have really no clue.
We got it.
But I do think that they really need to change the way that the AI detects the corpse, and it usually is the eyes. Honestly, I think they need to do a little more work with it. And one example would be is they should still detect you, even though through the legs, the arms, the torso, and not just the head. Now, as much as fun those are, it's fun what Payday 2 had, but I don't want to see it back in Payday 3. Now you're probably saying to yourself with all these changes I keep saying that oh, you're just making the game more harder. Well, yes, especially for the highest difficulty. And most of the stuff I did say, I figure on lower difficulty won't have some of these changes.
Score, Pichkova.
Have these changed so that way you can still have a nice, decent challenge. And also made because stealth is basically the only way to go to play DSOD, really, and have the most enjoyment out of it. As I did try to have it with, well, playing loud. As time goes on, I am not really having this much fun on DSOD because I've been doing the exact same shit. Especially all the tediousness and basically just how the difficulty itself, mainly on PC, and especially with the newer heists they added to it, it just really ruins the fun out of it. Which I know the DSOD was not meant to have fun. It's just meant to have the most. It's a difficulty meant for the most for the challenging players. Another thing I want to cover up is when it comes to civilians killed. Now, in stealth, there's really nothing punishing of killing a civvy because all you could do is just kill a civvy and this bag is covered with no problem, as opposed to, you know, tell them to shout out to the ground, which you do make noise with your voice, but of course that doesn't apply in this game. You tie them down and then you try to move them. Now, there are two things that is really bad. One is how long for them to get up from the ground, and two, their pathfinding, their AI pathfinding sucks dick. There are times where I failed because I want to keep at least one hostage alive or trying to do a pacifist run. So in a situation like this, you see, I don't bother with it, so I just throw the bag like this, rather than tie them up. Because if I would have tied them up and try to move it here, I will be in a sitting duck for sure, in a much terrible spot. In a much terrible spot, and honestly, there should be some sort of penalty when killing a civvy. Now we know on certain missions that when you do kill a certain civvy, like the FBI boss in, well, Hoxton's Revenge, if you kill him before you do the scan, the alarm will, you'll set up the alarm automatically. So I think there'll be some sort of, and also in No Mercy, if you do shoot one civilian, of course, when their heart drops because there's some type of, I don't know, like a biomedic ID or something like that for the heart, and they know if it dies, it trips the alarm, so you can't do that. So I figure, and also in Crime Spree, if you kill too many civilians, you will raise the alarm. But instead of, you know, killing too many civilians and then you raise the alarm, what it should do is the contractor, whether it be Bane or Locke or someone else who takes the role, should be actually caring for the civvies, and I say, just like in Splinter Cell, if you kill too many civilians, well, you're just gonna fail the mission automatically. So, of course, if you try to stealth it, you either, basically, of course, will go to the alarm, but no, scratch it. I think restart the whole level, but if you do plan to do all of it in stealth, the contractor will basically pull the plug and abort the mission, in giving you a automatically heist failed. However, I will explain this mechanic differently in Loud, but for now it's the stealth version, and that's only if you're playing on the stealth. But if you kill too many civvies and you're playing on Loud, it's gotta be a little more different. So instead of like failing the heist, or you're actually could continue playing, but you are severely punished when the cops arrive. But I'll explain that later. So yeah, that's gotta be it of my thoughts of what I want to see these big changes in Payday 3. Now there's a lot of stuff I did talk about for stealth, but the reason I talk about this is, well, I want to see the game get a little bit of change, improve, but also have fun at the same time. Because so far in Payday 2, stealth is basically the same for any difficulty. Whether you play from normal or to death sentence, it's still the same thing. The only thing that's different is just, oh, you got Titan cams, and then you have more guards and civvies and more different objectives to add on, which it's still been played the exact same thing. But they need to do a little bit more. So this will be nice to add all these changes to make the game experience a lot more stealthable, but at the same time still provide the more fun, the challenge, and the entertainment value that Payday 3 has to offer. I mean, after all, I do love stealth in Payday 2. I think it's one of the favorite stealth games out there. But I do like to see changes as well. But yeah, that's gotta be it for my all my stuff I have to say for stealth. Now you could agree or disagree with me with certain changes that I have. After all, this is based on by my opinion. All the stuff I said is basically not confirmed at all, but just based off around my opinion. But of course the Unreal Engine is true, so hopefully they can make something good out of it. But if you'd like to see your ideas as well, write down in the comments down in the section below, and I will be very appreciated and read over what you have in mind. So thank you for watching, everyone. Give it a like, comment, and subscribe, and have a wonderful day, everyone.